For the record, both assistant state attorneys are present, all four defense counsel, and Mr. Rodgers. I've reviewed both the cases. I'm going to allow it. I think at worst it's a statement of a party opponent, one of the conspirators, and it's not for the truth of the matter asserted. It's the first contact for allegedly setting up a conspiracy. I think it's admissible. Anything else before we bring them out?
Your Honor, I just thought we could address scheduling very quickly.
Sure.
We just wanted to alert the court where we are. We had 8 witnesses that are here today to testify. We are clearly only on witness number 2. The other witnesses we have lined up and are arriving. They are from out of state and they will be ready to go Monday. I don't know if the remaining 6 witnesses, I expect them to be somewhat lengthy, but I don't know. We don't know how long each of these witnesses will take. And so we just wanted to alert the court. We will call every witness that was here for today. Unfortunately for us, we anticipated starting trial today, and so we have been trying to catch up. We will be completely caught up by Monday of next week, making sure that everyone is here and ready to go as soon as one witness is off the stand. But we had people coming in from out of town and did not have them here. We're not able to get them here so they could go on today, Your Honor. But
Okay.
we do have 6 remaining witnesses to call.
Well, we'll call them and we'll see where we're at. Bring them out.
Just real quickly for purposes
Hold on a
of the
minute.
record, 25A, the court allowed in and the state has withdrawn 25. Is that where we are?
They withdrew 25, so it's 25A.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure the record.
I just need, then if we can make 25, oh no, just a court exhibit so that it's clear that the state set up the authentication and relevance of 25A.
Sure, we'll show 25 as a court exhibit and we'll take it into evidence.
Thank you.
I think I've already made all my objections.
Renewed at this time, correct?
Judge, yes.
Just clarify, you named 3. Is there 6 additional this afternoon, or?
We had a total of 8. We had a total of 8, so I think we're on our second, which would mean there are 6 remaining.
No, let's keep going. Bring them out. I'm going to ask again, did you follow my instructions, not talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand. For the record, no jurors lifted their hand. My apologies for the prolonged break. That's my fault, and my apologies for the length. State.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may approach the witness.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm handing you what's marked as State's Exhibit 25A. I think we were discussing that. Are those pages that were taken from the extraction of the phone that you were handed, phone number 314-239, I think it's 0173?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, move to introduce State's Exhibit 25A.
Renewed objection.
Yes, Judge, previous objections.
Noted for the record, we'll show it admitted.
State's Exhibit 25A, is it in a particular view?
Yeah, it's called a timeline view. It's where we can combine your phone calls, text messages, whatever you were doing, and put it in a timeline view of the actual events that took place.
So on Cellbrite, you can sort so that maybe we only see phone messages. We only see voice calls, correct?
Yeah.
And you can sort so we only see text messages, and you can sort. There are different ways that you can ask the data to be presented to you.
That's correct.
And is timeline one of those ways to ask for the data to be presented?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that what this is that we're looking at in 25A?
Correct.
Did you download every device that was obtained by LCSO during the investigation of the murder of Teresa Sievers?
No, ma'am.
And why not?
There was an abundance of devices in this case, so in order to help streamline, we were asked to eliminate items that were not used in the last 3 to 4 months. If there was no activity on those devices, we would not download those devices. We would simply put them aside, go to the next device up in the queue.
And were you able to preview those devices in order to make a determination of whether or not they had been used in the last 3 or 4 months?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, did you yourself personally download each device that was downloaded by the digital forensics unit?
All the devices I touched, I downloaded, yes.
But were there other devices that were part of this investigation that you did not download?
No, correct.
Is that standard procedure to use multiple people within the unit?
No, ma'am.
And why did that occur in this case?
Again, it was all...
Sustained.
I have no further questions, Ms. Witness.
Thanks.
I tender the witness.
Morning.
Morning.
You testified that you used Celebrite on this particular device, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Celebrite is kind of the gold standard for cell phone extractions, would you say?
I would say so, yes.
It's a fairly reliable program.
Yes, sir.
However, what Celebrite gets off a particular phone is only as good as the data that's on the phone, correct?
Yeah.
Celebrite may or may not collect data that's been deleted from a phone, correct?
It can recover deleted data, yes.
It can, but not always, correct?
Oh, correct.
And the way phone works is when you delete data, it doesn't actually delete it, correct? Phone doesn't erase it when you delete something.
Correct. It's available to recover.
But that space is now marked as usable by the phone, correct?
Correct.
So that information sits there until the phone decides to overwrite it with something else, correct?
Correct.
So whether or not you get deleted data is dependent on whether or not the phone has used that space again.
That is accurate, yes.
Okay. That could happen the next picture you take, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Or it could never happen.
That's correct.
So there's no real way to tell for sure whether there was data on a particular phone that's been deleted.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, that was a bad question. Let me rephrase that. So you can't tell whether the phone has covered up something that's been deleted.
I can only tell you what I'm able to recover.
Right.
What was there before, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Is this witness to be released or retained?
Ask the witness to be released.
No objection?
Yes, Judge, I would like him possibly for the case in chief.
You're subject to recall, sir. We'll let you know if you're needed again. Thank you. Next witness.
State Police Deputy Armato.
The testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Wait, sir.
Now the scene in which you speak, please speak into the microphone.
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Jonathan Armato,
And how do you spell your last name, sir?
Armato.
And I see you're wearing your, well, that's just that, is that a Class A uniform you're wearing?
Yes, sir.
Where is that uniform from?
The Lee County Sheriff's Office?
And you're a sworn Lee County Sheriff's Deputy?
Yes, sir.
A sergeant?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Since 2005?
And going back to the to June of 2015, what was your status with the Sheriff's Office then?
I was a detective in the Major Crimes Unit.
And as a detective in the MCU, did you become involved in an investigation involving death of Dr. Teresa Sievers?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And approximately, if you can recall, how many detectives got involved in that investigation?
I don't recall that.
Was it a team effort?
Yes, it was.
Definitely more than one?
Yeah, absolutely.
And during your involvement in the investigation, did you have an opportunity to recover some biological samples?
Yes, I did.
Specifically, did you have an opportunity to meet with an individual identified to you as Bonnie Sievers?
I did.
And what was the purpose of meeting with Bonnie Sievers?
There was an interview and a buckle swab collection.
And when you say a buccal swab collection, what's a buccal swab?
A buccal swab it looks like a long Q-tip that you swab the inside of a person's mouth with for DNA comparisons.
And what part of the inside of a person's mouth would be swabbed?
Inside of the cheek.
Right, so you wouldn't necessarily stick a Q-tip in somebody's throat or under their tongue or something like that.
No, sir.
And did Miss Sievers comply when you took the buccal swab?
Yes, she did. She was very cooperative.
Yeah. I'm going to show you what we've previously marked as State's Exhibit number 27. I've previously shown it to the defense. And ask if you recognize it. Do you recognize State's Exhibit number 27?
I do.
What is it?
It's a paper bag that contains the buccal swab from Bonnie Sievers.
And you placed the buccal swab into the bag?
It's actually contained in a box and then in the bag.
And is the container appear to be in substantially the same condition as it was when you placed it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I move to admit what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 27 and evidence of State's 27.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
And at the time that Bonnie Sievers' buccal swab was obtained, was she a suspect at all in the case?
To my knowledge, no.
And do you commonly obtain biological samples from people who might not even be involved in the crime?
Absolutely.
And why would you do that?
If they're known to possibly be at the house, it's a comparison technique used to also eliminate that biological substance that may have been collected at the scene.
So if there was an unknown DNA sample at a scene, then you might submit Mrs. Sievers' DNA for comparison to see if hers was the unknown sample?
Correct.
Thank you. I tender the witness.
Defense.
Thank you. Deputy Armato, good morning. On what date did you take that sample?
I don't recall the exact date without looking at the...
Do you recall about how far into the investigation?
Judge, I object. The witness has indicated he had some difficulty answering the question. I think if he had the exhibit, he might be able to answer both of those questions. And I handed the exhibit to the clerk.
Overruled, and if she wants to refresh his memory with that, she may, or you can always do that on redirect.
Do you recall how far into the investigation, or
I don't.
would it help if you looked at the exhibit?
Either the exhibit or the property receipt.
Okay. May I approach?
Yes, ma'am.
I would need the property receipt.
When you,
That doesn't refresh your recollection, sir.
No, sir, the date's not written on the bag.
Okay.
Do you normally have, excuse me, talk to you with my back to you. Did you package that up?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall the date or
No.
that it was packaged? You didn't date it?
Objection. Asked and answered.
Overruled.
The property receipt that it was submitted with is dated.
Okay. But the actual package, are you required to put a date on that when you submit it?
Not necessarily, if the property receipt itself has the date on it.
Okay. I don't have any further questions.
State.
Nothing further.
Is this witness to be released or retained?
He's free to go, man.
Free to go. Thank
Thank
you,
you, sir.
Deputy. Next witness.
State calls Gladys Martinez. Oh, yes, prior.
Yes, sir.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
My name is Gladys Martinez.
And can you spell Martinez for the court reporter, please?
Martinez.
Ms. Martinez, where are you currently employed?
I'm employed by the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
And in what capacity are you currently employed there?
I'm a latent examiner.
And what division of the sheriff's office is latents?
The Forensic Division.
How were you employed back in June of 2015?
I was a crime scene technician.
And what division is a crime scene technician in?
It's in the Forensic Division also.
So you moved to a different department within forensics?
Yes.
Back in June of 2015, what were your duties?
My duties was to document, collect, and preserve evidence as a crime scene technician.
Did you have to undergo any kind of training in order to be able to be a crime scene technician?
Yes.
Could you explain to us what kind of training you had to undergo?
I have an associate's degree in crime scene technology from Edison State College. I have 480 hours of field training. Also, I have 360 hours of forensic specialty training from Florida schools.
Let me turn your attention specifically to June 29th, 2015. Did you become involved in an investigation involving the murder of Dr. Teresa Sievers at 27034 Jarvis Road?
Yes.
Specifically, at some point, Dr. Sievers was transported for an autopsy.
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to attend the autopsy?
Yes, I did.
Now, you're not a medical examiner, right?
No.
So what was the purpose of a crime scene technician attending an autopsy?
It was to collect and preserve some of the evidence.
And did an autopsy of Dr. Sievers in fact occur?
Yes, it did.
When did that happen?
June 30th, 2015.
So it happened the next day.
Yes.
And when you attended the autopsy, were you present during the autopsy?
Yes, I was.
And did the medical examiner and medical examiner staff conduct the autopsy?
Yes, they did.
And while conducting it, were there specific items of evidence recovered from Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
Let's first talk about items recovered by the medical examiner's staff. When Dr. Sievers arrived at the medical examiner's office, was she clothed?
Yes, she was.
What was she wearing?
She was wearing a black dress, no shoes, and she had jewelry on also.
And in order to conduct the autopsy, did the medical examiner and his staff remove the clothing from Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
Specifically the dress.
Yes.
And were you present when it was removed?
Yes, I was.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked and shown to the defense as State's Exhibit number 31. And ask if you recognize this.
Yes, I recognize it.
Okay. What is it?
It's the dress packaged in a brown paper bag with my initials and date on it.
And did you observe the medical examiner staff remove the dress from Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
And when it was removed, what did they do with it?
They placed it on a sterile blue sheet.
And then once it was placed on the sterile blue sheet, what happened to it?
We photographed it, documented, and then we packaged it.
And did you package it yourself into that paper bag?
Yes.
And is the packaging in substantially the same condition as it was when you packaged it?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I move to admit what's been marked as States 31 and the evidence is States 31.
No objection. We'll show it admitted.
Did you also have an opportunity to use any? Let me ask you this: does the sheriff's office, the forensics unit, have sometimes use alternative light sources to conduct an investigation?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And can you explain to the jury what an alternative light source is?
An alternative light source is a tool for crime scene technicians. Helps us enhance fibers, blood, saliva that maybe by the naked eye we can't see it.
So this is some kind of lighting that allows you to see things that you might not be able to see with your naked eye?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you have an opportunity to use an alternative light source with Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
And how does that work? Now, were you still at the medical examiner's office?
Yes, we were still there.
Do they have some type of alternative lighting built in the medical examiner's office, or is that like a portable light source?
It's a portable light source.
And so something you brought with you to the medical examiner's office?
Yes.
And can you explain to the jury how it works when you use an alternative light source to examine can you explain what you did when you used an alternative light source to examine Dr. Sievers?
Using the alternative light source, they dim down the lighting in the room, and then we use there's different glasses, or also it attaches to the light source. It's like a shield. They're different colors: blue, green, orange. It just depends what you're looking for. We just basically use the orange shield, and that can pick up many things. Again, saliva, semen, fibers, and it just helps to enhance something that you cannot see with your naked eye.
When you use the alternative light source, did you locate any saliva or semen on Dr. Sievers?
No.
Did you locate any fibers?
Yes.
And when you located fibers with the alternative light source, did you then engage in take an opportunity to recover those fibers?
Yes.
And what's the method you use to recover fibers? What's the method you use to recover fibers off Dr. Sievers?
We use clear forensic tape, and we just basically on the sticky side, we touch the areas that are of interest, and we just lift, and then we place it on a white card.
And when you say clear forensic tape, do you mean like a roll of tape of some kind?
No, it's not a roll of tape.
Can you explain to the jury what it is?
It's clear white tape. There's different sizes. I couldn't tell you the size right now. There's one like it's 8 by 5, and they just have different sizes that can go around the area of the body.
And so you apply the sticky side to the tape to Dr. Sievers,
Yes.
and then presumably the sticky side of the tape, does that pick up stuff that might be on her?
Yes.
Okay. Why would you then stick the tape on a white card? What's the purpose of doing that?
To preserve the fibers or anything you collect, and then that will be sent off to a lab.
So if the palm of my hand was the sticky side of the tape that had fibers on it, you would then stick it on the white card to keep the stuff that you picked up from coming off the tape?
Yes.
How many tape lifts did you do on Dr. Sievers?
It was 14.
How many cards did you use to recover those tape lists?
13 cards.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 29, which has been shown to the defense. And ask if you recognize number 29.
Yes, I recognize it has my initials and date.
What is it?
It's the trace evidence. It's the 13 cards.
The 13 cards containing the 14 lifts from Dr. Sievers?
Yes, that's correct.
And did you package the item yourself?
Yes, I did.
And is the packaging in substantially similar condition as it was when you packaged it?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I would admit what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 29 and the evidence is State's 29.
We'll show it admitted.
Now, at some point during the autopsy process, did the medical examiner staff also recover biological samples from Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
Specifically, did they recover any kind of a blood sample from her?
Yes, they did.
And were you present when this blood sample was recovered?
Yes.
Okay. And did you observe it being recovered?
Yes.
And what did they do with the blood sample that they recovered from Dr. Sievers?
They placed it on a card and packaged it in a manila envelope.
And were you present when that happened as well?
Yes.
And what did they do once they packaged it into a manila envelope? What did they do with it?
I took custody of the stain card.
And then what did you do with the stain card after it was packaged into the manila envelope and given to you?
I placed it in a brown paper bag and also put evidence tape on it with my initials and date showing that I took custody, and I transported it to our evidence department.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 30, previously shown to the defense, and ask if you recognize number 30.
It has my initials and date on it.
Okay, and what is it?
It's a brown paper bag with the stain card blood sample.
And is that the stain card blood sample that you obtained from the medical examiner staff during the autopsy of Dr. Sievers?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I would admit the blood stain card State's Exhibit number 30 and evidence is State's 30.
No objection. Show it admitted.
Okay, talking more about biological samples from Dr. Sievers. Did the medical examiner staff also remove any hair samples from Dr. Sievers?
Yes, they collected a sample of hair.
And were you present when that collection was done as well?
Yes.
And when they collected the hair sample from Dr. Sievers, what did they do with it?
They take a sterile tweezer and they just, it's no specific area of the head, they just pluck a piece of hair and he placed it in another envelope.
And did you observe him place the hair into the envelope?
Yes.
And after he placed hair into the envelope, what did he do with the envelope?
He sealed the envelope. I took custody of it. I placed it in a brown paper bag sealed it with evidence tape, my initials and date.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 30, and has previously been shown to the defense. Number 32, sorry. And ask if you recognize number 32. I'll take these from you.
Yes, I recognize it's my initials and date.
Okay, and what's contained within, excuse my back while I'm walking away, what's contained within number 32?
It's the hair sample of Dr. Sievers.
And is that the hair sample you collected from the medical examiner staff?
Yes.
Is the packaging in substantially the same condition as it was when you packaged it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time the state would admit what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit number 32 and the evidence states 32.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Bless you. Will you tender the witness?
Defense.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Martinez.
Good morning.
You were not at the crime scene on Jarvis Road, correct?
No, I was not.
Okay. Your primary involvement was attending the autopsy.
That's correct.
Okay, there were several people in attendance in addition to yourself. Lead detective at that time, Jamie Nolan, was present.
Yes.
The captain of the forensic unit at that time, Richard Joslin, he was present.
Yes.
The medical examiner assistant, Sarah Norman, was also present.
That's correct.
Christine Jump,
Yes.
another crime scene technician,
Yes.
she was present. And of course, Dr. Coyne, the medical examiner.
Yes.
Now, you told Mr. Hunter that you observed fibers in the alternative light source. Was that when you were able to see these fibers?
Yes.
And you collected those fibers.
Yes.
Fibers are cloth items that we pick up in our everyday life, is that correct?
Fibers can be, cloth items.
Okay. So these would be items that a person might pick up sitting in a seat on an airline plane?
It can be picked up from anywhere.
Off a car seat?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further. Thank you, Ms. Martinez.
Is this witness to be released or retained?
She's free to go, Your Honor. Thank you.
No objection?
No objection.
You're free to go. Thank you, ma'am. Next witness?
State calls Lieutenant Mike Downs.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning. Would you please state your name for the record?
Lieutenant Michael Downs,
And where are you employed?
the Lee County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been so employed?
November will be 13 years.
And you indicated you're a lieutenant. I want to talk to you about a time back in June 2015. What was your assignment in 2015?
I was currently a detective in the Major Crimes Unit, assigned to homicide.
And as part of those duties, did you have occasion on June 29th to respond to 27034 Jarvis Road?
I did.
And about what time did you arrive?
I can't give a specific time. It was,
Was it still daylight outside?
it was.
And did you enter into the residence on Jarvis Road?
I did.
Did you take any precautionary measures before you entered into the residence?
Yeah, naturally, with any crime scene, you would wear gloves due to the nature of this crime scene. And initial observations, we put on booties.
So did you have on gloves and booties before you entered the crime scene?
Yes.
So initially when you entered the crime scene, what did you do? Did you do a walkthrough? When you entered the crime scene, what did you do?
Initially, upon responding to the crime scene, it's customary to do a walk through the scene so that you know what you have. So my first action upon getting to the scene was briefing and then conducting a walkthrough.
Did you make any observations inside the house about the nature of, let me withdraw that question. Did you at some point while you were doing a walkthrough look at the side garage door?
I did.
And did you make any observations regarding that?
Yes.
And what observations did you make?
There was obvious pry marks on the door in between the top deadbolt and the primary locking mechanism.
And when you looked at those pry marks, did anything come to your mind?
Yes, initially upon looking at the pry marks and the location of the pry marks, it didn't seem to be consistent with the appropriate forced entry to go through that type of door.
And you indicated you walked through the house. Did the house look like it had been ransacked?
It did not.
And was there a time when you came to observe money in the house?
Yes.
And do you recall a particular amount of money that at some point you came to see?
All in all, and observations of currency at the crime scene, it was upwards of $40,000.
Did you participate in a neighborhood canvass?
I did.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury what a neighborhood canvass is?
Yes. Basically, a neighborhood canvass is something that you do around any crime scene or any area to where there is something notable in an investigation. Basically, it just consists of going door to door, close to in proximity to the offense location, speaking with residents, and basically seeing if they heard or saw anything suspicious. And also, we try to get some what we call victimology, or background on our victim or suspect, depending on the circumstances in that particular case.
And during your participation in a neighborhood canvass, did you come across anyone who had seen anything around the time of the crime or heard anything?
No.
Were you fully involved around the clock initially in this particular case?
I was not.
Did there come a time a few days later where you reported to a dumpster to look at some computer equipment that had been tossed out?
There was.
And what was the location of that dumpster?
It was located at the Sievers medical practice in Estero.
Were those items recovered?
They were.
Did you recover them?
I did not.
Did someone from crime scene recover them?
They did.
Was your next involvement on July 9th?
It was.
How did that come about?
I happened to be in the office working late. I was working another investigation. There were other investigators in the office that were assigned to this particular investigation. And it was brought to my attention that we had received, somebody had come forward saying that there was information in the investigation at hand.
And because was that a phone call?
It was.
Because of that phone call, did you end up the next day taking a plane to Illinois?
I did.
And did anyone else accompany you on that trip to Illinois?
Yes, my partner, Lieutenant David Lebed.
And when you arrived in Illinois, did you end up speaking with the person who had given the tip?
We did.
And after receiving information from that person, what did you do?
From there, the next day, we went to Hillsborough, Missouri.
And what did you do in Hillsborough, Missouri?
We made contact with local law enforcement in that jurisdiction
And why did you go to Hillsborough, Missouri?
to conduct a search warrant.
What had Missouri been on anyone's radar in Lee County before you flew out to Illinois on July 9th?
No,
And was there any person of particular interest in Hillsborough, Missouri that led you down to Hillsborough, Missouri?
not up to that point.
On July 9th or on July 10th, after speaking with the person in Illinois, is there a reason that you went to Hillsborough, Missouri versus any other place in Missouri?
Yes,
And what was that reason?
to conduct a search warrant
Where did you want to conduct a search warrant?
on a subject's residence.
Now, you said, did you go talk to law enforcement in Hillsborough, Missouri?
We did.
And is that standard procedure?
Yes.
Why do you do that? Why is that part of standard procedure?
It's twofold. First off, anytime you're in anybody else's jurisdiction, it's customary to notify them and let them know that you're there. Second off, given the circumstances in this case, that we are certified law enforcement officers in the state of Florida, we do not have the jurisdictional enforcement capabilities that they would in that jurisdiction. So their help is required for legal process and investigation, things of that nature.
And so did you go meet with local law enforcement in Hillsborough, Missouri?
Yes, we did.
Now, was the reason you went to Hillsborough, Missouri because somebody by the name of Curtis Wainwright lived there?
Yes.
And how did you hear the name Curtis Wainwright?
It was in speaking with a witness.
So the person who had called initially on the 9th and who you flew out to meet used the name Curtis Wainwright,
Yes.
and that led you to Hillsborough, Missouri?
It did.
Had you ever heard of that name before you heard it spoken by this individual?
I had not.
And ultimately, was a search warrant conducted on the residence of Curtis Wainwright?
It was.
When was that search warrant conducted?
To my recollection, it was July 12th.
So on July 12th, a search warrant was conducted at that residence. Who executed the search warrant and collected anything from that search warrant?
We were assigned to Detective Nick Schoeneman, who is a certified law enforcement officer and also crime scene technician for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. He executed and processed the scene.
So Detective Schoeneman is both a sworn law enforcement officer and a crime scene technician. Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Yes.
And were you present while he was executing the search warrant and collecting any evidence?
I was.
While at that residence, was there also a vehicle at that residence that was searched?
There was.
What kind of vehicle was that?
It was a silver, or it could be either way, silver or gray in color Hyundai Elantra.
And was anything taken from that Hyundai Elantra?
There was.
What was taken from that Hyundai Elantra?
A Garmin GPS unit.
And were those items that, so what was taken, let me rephrase that. And Your Honor, everything has been, which the state's going to refer has been previously shown to defense counsel.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit Number 43. Tell me what State's Exhibit Number 43 is. Take a moment to look at it. What is State's Exhibit Number, what's contained in State's Exhibit Number 43?
A Garmin GPS unit.
And was that Garmin GPS unit collected by Nick Schoeneman?
It was.
And did you then, was that garment packaged?
Yes, it was.
And did you then send it off to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
Thank you. Meanwhile, after the search warrant of the residence of Curtis Wainwright, did you continue to conduct an investigation in Missouri?
I did.
Now let's see, did you arrive in Missouri on July 10th?
Yes.
Had you come with clothing to stay for an extended period of time?
No, not at that time.
When you flew out to Missouri, were you expecting for there to be any length of time for there to be an investigation?
Initially, I believe the trip was going to last no longer than 2 days.
And so you continued to follow, as to say, those leads. Did there come a point, can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, did there come a point when you ended up at the residence of Jimmy Ray Rodgers and Taylor Showmaker?
I did.
And was anyone else there with you?
My partner, Lieutenant David Levy, was with me.
And how did you end up at the residence of, on that first trip, at the residence of Jimmy Ray Rodgers and Taylor Showmaker? What was the purpose in going to that residence?
Initially, they had come up in information we received in the investigation, and we were going to make contact with them. It was basically just a cold contact.
When you say a cold contact and they come up in information, did you suspect them of anything at that point?
I did not.
So why were you going to go talk with them?
Given the circumstances that transpired throughout the investigation, information was obtained that indicated that Mr. Rodgers appeared to be a friend of Mr. Wright. Therefore, in speaking with him, we could get possibly background on Mr. Wright, possibly a statement as to his whereabouts, with any discrepancies we may have learned in the investigation.
So you went to see Mr. Rodgers to see if he could provide you any information about Mr. Wright, who right then was the focus of your investigation?
Yes.
And that was because you looked at it might be the potential that Mr. Rodgers was a friend and might be able to provide additional information?
Yes.
Were you looking for any confirmation of whether Mr. Wright had been in Missouri during the weekend of June 27th?
Yes.
And was that one of your questions you asked Mr. Rodgers when you were meeting with him?
Yes.
Was Mr. Rodgers able to tell you where Curtis Wainwright had been the weekend of June 27th?
He was not.
Let's just step back for a moment. When you first got to Jimmy Ray Rodgers' residence, was he there?
He was not.
Who was there?
At that time, it was his live-in girlfriend, Taylor Showmaker.
And did you speak with Taylor Showmaker?
We did.
Did Mr. Rodgers eventually arrive to his residence?
He did.
About how long after you were talking with Taylor Showmaker?
I can't say specifically, but it was a short time after our arrival.
So is a short time 5 minutes, an hour? I mean, everybody has a different definition of a short time. Can you give us a range of time?
I would say several minutes before he arrived back there.
So definitely less than an hour.
Yes.
Did Jimmy Ray Rodgers indicate whether he was in town the weekend of June 27th?
Yes, he did.
Did he indicate whether or not he'd been to Florida the weekend of June 27th?
He stated that he had not been to Florida.
Now, did there come a time when you went back? Did there come a time when you left Missouri and returned back to Lee County?
Yes.
So on that first trip, about how long did it last?
Approximately 12 days.
Now, that was in July. Did you make a second trip to Missouri?
I returned in September.
So did you return in August to Missouri?
I apologize. Yes.
And when you returned in August to Missouri, what was the purpose of returning back to Missouri in August?
There were further developments in the investigation, in which required further investigation.
Were there any particular information that was developed from Lee County? Were there any particular devices used or any particular devices downloaded that provided information that led you to go back to Missouri in August?
There was.
And what were those devices?
Particularly the Garmin GPS unit.
And had you also by that point been able to, through your digital forensics unit, have the cell phone of Curtis Wayne Wright extracted, done an extraction on it or downloaded so that you had more information about what was in that phone?
We did.
Now, when you went back the second time, were you present when there was a search? Was there a search warrant at Jimmy Ray Rodgers' residence?
There was.
And were you present for that?
I was.
And was Nick Schooneman present for that? Deputy Detective Dick Schooneman.
He was.
Was anyone else present?
Yes, it was myself, my partner, Sergeant David Lebed.
And were a number of items seized from that residence during that search warrant?
There were.
And were you present when those items were seized?
I was.
And did you ultimately take custody of those items and send them to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
I'm going to show you what has been marked for identification as States Exhibits 39, 40, 41, 42, and 50. I'll start with States Exhibit number 40. What is States Exhibit number 40?
It appears to be a white cooler.
And who sees States Exhibit number 40?
Detective Human.
And did you then take custody of it to send to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
So let me mark the States Exhibit number 42. What is States Exhibit number 42?
They appear to be black, white, and green tennis shoes.
And and was that seized by Detective Schooneman?
It was.
And did you take custody of it from him and send it to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
I'm also going to show you States Exhibit 41. Well, we'll do one. States Exhibit 41. What is States Exhibit number 41?
It appears to be a white wicking T-shirt.
And from where was that white wicking T-shirt recovered?
From Jimmy Ray Rodgers' closet.
And did Detective Schooneman take custody? Did Detective Schooneman seize that?
He did.
And did he package it?
He did.
And did you take custody of it?
I did.
And did you ship it to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
Let me also show you States Exhibit number 39. What is States Exhibit number 39?
Excuse me one moment, I'm sorry. Appears to be a red in color Budweiser t-shirt.
And was that seized by Detective Schooneman?
Yes,
And did he package it?
he did.
And did you take custody of it and forward it to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
State's exhibit number, what did I just hand you? 50, I believe. What did I just hand you as a state's exhibit number, if you would just turn it over?
Oh, now, I'm sorry, I thought you meant prior. This is 50.
50. State's exhibit number 50. What is state's exhibit number 50?
It appears to be a black and tan hanging sign.
And was that recovered from the residence of Jimmy Ray Rodgers?
It was.
And did Detective Schooneman recover that item?
He did.
And did he put it into an evidence bag?
He did.
And did you take it from him into custody?
I did.
And did you ship it to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
And finally, State's Exhibit 41. What is State's Exhibit number 41?
It appears to be an additional white wicking t-shirt.
And was that seized from Jimmy Ray Rodgers' residence
It was.
by Detective Schooneman?
Yes.
Packaged by Detective Schooneman?
Yes.
Taken into custody by you?
Yes.
And sent to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oops. Sorry.
While the search warrant, or after the search warrant was executed at the residence of Jimmy Ray Rodgers, did you come to speak with Taylor Showmaker?
I did.
And did she end up making a statement to law enforcement?
She did.
And was that statement to you?
Yes.
Was anyone else present?
At the time of my statement with her, no.
And was it recorded?
It was.
And after that statement, did you and at that time Detective Levitt make a trip down to the Doe Run area?
We did.
And were you going down there looking for anything in particular?
At the time that we went to the area of Doe Run, we were looking for a specific item,
Well, what were you looking for?
a cell phone.
And were you looking for anything else on the side of the road?
Yes.
Had Taylor Showmaker provided you information about where certain items might be found?
She did.
Objection, Your Honor. Overruled.
I'm going to hand you what's been. I'm going to walk around. The quick way is not the slow way. I'm going to hand you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibits 37A, 37B, 37C, and 37D. First, generally look at them, and then I'll ask you questions about each one. you looked at those?
I have.
What are they generally?
They appear to be photographs of side of a roadway and what appears to be a blue jumpsuit.
Do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
And were you there in that location from where those photographs are taken?
I was.
Where were they taken? Where is that location that we're looking at? Can you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
This is Highway 47 East in the area of Cadet, Missouri.
And are those fair and accurate photos from that area?
Yes.
About when were they taken? Was that in the August, your second trip?
Yes, I believe it was August 25th.
Move to introduce.
No, Judge. Show them embedded. What are the numbers again?
37A, 37B, 37C, and 37D.
Thank you.
You're under permission to publish.
You may.
With the court's permission, if I might, publish the old-fashioned way.
Sure, you can give them to the bailiff and they can pass them down, or you can hold them up, whatever your pleasure is.
If I could hold them up, then Lieutenant Downs could describe what they're seeing.
Sure, and if counsel needs to move around to see what he's describing or pointing at, by all means, you may.
I'm going to first have him referring to Exhibit 37A. 37A. What are we looking at in 37A?
Oh, I'm sorry. You want me to?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
The jury doesn't.
It's a long-range picture of where we found the item in question.
And is that the road you were talking about?
Yes.
What are we looking at in 37B?
That is a closer picture approaching the item in question.
Now, are these two road pictures going from different directions or the same direction? In other words, am I standing in one point and looking one way, then looking the other?
It's approaching from one direction.
C. 37C. What are the ladies and gentlemen of the jury seeing in 37C?
It's just documenting a closer picture approaching the item.
And when you think the item, what are we talking about?
The blue jumpsuit.
And finally, 37D.
That is a close-up picture of the blue jumpsuit.
And this was the blue jumpsuit that you recovered from the side of the road?
Yes.
And you were on a road to Cadet, Missouri, is that what you're saying? Is that what you just testified to? Where are we?
This is Highway 47 East, which I believe to be in Cadet, Missouri.
Cadet, Missouri. Did you take into your custody that blue jumpsuit we see on the side of the road in 37D, well, 37C?
I did.
I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit number 51. This is all previously been shown. What is State's Exhibit number 51?
Sure.
looking at State's Exhibit 51, Lieutenant Downs, is that the blue jumpsuit you recovered from the side of the road?
Yes.
If you move to introduce State's Exhibit 51, and this is State's Exhibit 51, if there was a speaking before of a second 51, it would have been an error, Your Honor. This is State's Exhibit number 51.
We'll show it admitted.
And I think there are gloves up there if you need them.
Oh, okay. That doesn't work.
Thank you.
For clarification, you would like me to open the package?
Yes.
Okay.
Up top.
Oh, thank you. Would you like me to remove the item?
Please, if you would remove the item that is contained in the box that is labeled State's Exhibit 51. Is there stuff that's falling off of that?
There is.
What's
There's
falling? Can you give
additionally-
us a description of what's falling off of it?
It's foliage, roadway debris, grass, dirt.
Is this how you found this jumpsuit when you took it into your custody on the side of the road in Cadet, Missouri?
Yes.
Is it in parts? Did I see you lift out a second part?
There's two other. Here, I'll do one at a time. There's another piece of it, and also another piece of it.
You can just put it back in the box. Thank you. Was that jumpsuit sent initially to Lee County Sheriff's Office so it could be further investigated?
It was.
While you were on the side of the road up there in Cadet, Missouri, were you looking for anything else?
In addition to the suit,
Yes.
yes, we're also looking for blue latex gloves.
And were you looking for anything else? Did you find any blue latex gloves?
I did not.
Were you looking for anything else?
We were.
Let's back up for a moment. You're out in Cadet, Missouri on the side of a road. Did you just randomly go to a Google map and say, I want to go to Cadet, Missouri and look on the side of this road for something?
No.
So you had a reason for going to that road in Cadet, Missouri on that day.
Yes,
Was Taylor Showmaker with you on that day?
she was.
And was she the reason that you were on the road in that location?
She was.
Had Taylor Showmaker provided you information about the possibility of certain items being found on that road? For instance, Had Ms. Showmaker told you about the possibility of a blue jumpsuit being on the side of the road, in the road area in which you were looking?
Yes.
And is that why you were on that road in Cadet, Missouri, looking around to see what you might find?
Yes.
Had she also told you about a phone when she was speaking with you?
She did.
And did she describe to you what had happened with that phone?
She did.
And while you were out there, were you looking to see if you might find any parts of a phone?
Not at that particular time.
Did you look elsewhere for parts of a phone along that road?
We looked elsewhere for parts of a phone.
And did there come a time when you found parts of a phone?
There was.
I want to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibits 38A and 38B and ask if you can look at them and tell me what 38A and 38B are.
Item 38A appears to be a gray in color plastic Alcatel cell phone case. Item 38B appears to be a black and clear plastic AT&T cell phone face.
Did you recover those items from the side of a road?
I did.
When did you recover those items from a side of a road?
This was, I believe it to be August 26th.
And was anyone with you when you recovered those items from the side of a road?
Yes.
Who was with you?
Taylor Showmaker and Lieutenant David Levitt.
And what? You're walking down the side of a road. Are you picking up everything you see on the side of the road? Or were you looking for specific items?
At that point, I'm looking for a specific item.
And why did you pick up these two pieces of a broken cell phone?
They appeared to be parts of an item that I had been looking for.
And why had you been looking for that item?
Objection, Judge, hearsay.
Overruled.
We had been notified that the item may be in that area.
And did Taylor Showmaker provide you information that led you to think there might be broken parts of the cell phone in that area?
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
She did.
Move to introduce State's, Move to introduce State's Exhibits
38A and B.
38A and B.
Object, Judge.
I'm sorry?
Objection.
Noted for the record, overruled. We'll show them admitted.
Thank you. Would you open, and they say there's gloves there, would you open 38A and B and just show them to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? And open them one at a time. So let's start with 38A.
This is item 38A.
Can you hold it up so the ladies and gentlemen of the jury can see it? Can you briefly describe what it is, or what it appears to be? Is that the back of a phone case, the front?
To me, this appears to be the back of a cell phone.
And then if you would put it back into exhibit bag and open the other exhibit bag, please. And if you would hold it up so the ladies and gentlemen of the jury can see it. And what does that appear to be?
This appears to be the clear face of the front of a cell phone.
And again, if you would place it back into 38B. And were those, did you take those and did you also have those shipped to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
I did.
Now, did there come a time when you went to the actual, what's called the Doe Run facility?
There was.
I'm going to start with this one photo, so I'll give you. I'm going to start with this one. And I'll give you the rest to look at. Thank you. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification as 36A. Can you tell me what 36A is?
This appears to be a photograph of the Doe Run facility.
Is that how the Doe Run facility appeared on the day that you went to the Doe Run facility?
Yes.
Move to introduce. States 36A.
Any objection to the facility image?
I know you're.
We'll show it admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Is this facility from where you found the blue jumpsuit? Are we talking miles? Are we talking in a different county? What are?
It was within the from that location. It was in the proximity of a mile along the roadway.
So the roadway we were looking at when we were looking at the photos of the roadway, that was the roadway to the Doe Run facility?
That I do not know.
What road did you take to get to the Doe Run facility?
I can't say offhand.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as States Exhibits 36B through 36O. I just ask you to look for them briefly and just tell me generally what those are. generally, what are those what are those items in your hand?
They appear to be photographs of the inside of the facility itself.
And when we say the facility, is that Doe Run?
Yes.
Were those photographs that were taken the day that you went to the Doe Run facility and walked through the Doe Run facility?
They were.
In fact, I think, are you in one of those photos in the distance with booties on?
That appears to be me.
And do these photos give a fair and accurate sense of how that facility looked on the inside?
Yes.
Move to introduce.
No objection.
We'll show them introduced.
Thank you.
Admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may.
I'm going to just show you some of these photos, and you can maybe describe just what we're seeing in some of these photos. What is State's Exhibit 36B?
Appears to be a hallway within the facility.
So were you in that facility and did you walk down this hallway?
I did.
36C. All right. 36C. What does 36C show us?
That is the locker area within the facility.
And I want to also show you 36D. What is 36D?
That is an additional locker area within the same facility.
Is there a reason why one locker room area is blue and one is brown? Or do you not know?
I am unsure as to the reason of the color coding.
I want to show you what's been marked, what's been admitted as 36K. What are, 36K. What are we looking at in 36K?
It appears to be a laundry bin containing multiple jumpsuits.
When you were at Doe Run, did you see such laundry bins containing multiple jumpsuits?
Yes.
And 36M. What are we looking at in 36M?
It appears to be a pile of multiple different pieces of footwear, some covered in protective booties, some not.
And again, did you see that pile while you were at the Doe Run facility on the day you went there?
I did.
While you were at the Doe Run facility, did you end up seeing what some of the protective suits they wear were? The real ones that were fresh, never used.
Yes.
And did you look at had you already recovered this suit from the side of the road when you were at the facility? That we see in State's Exhibit 51.
I had.
Did the suits that you looked at the Doe Run facility appear similar to the jumpsuit that you had recovered that we have referred to as State's Exhibit 51?
Yes.
I think you spoke about I think you spoke about a car that was at, on your first trip at Curtis Wainwright's house from which you recovered the garment,
Yes.
from which the garment was recovered. I'm going to show you what's been marked for identification. It states Exhibits 34A and B. Is this that car?
Yes, that is the vehicle.
Move to introduce State's Exhibits 34A and B.
No objection.
We'll show them admitted.
Permission to publish, Your
You
Honor.
may.
States 34A. States 34B. Now, when you recovered the garment from the car, was it sitting in a warehouse? Was it sitting in a structured building?
It was.
So this car was in this building. Was this where it was when you conducted the search warrant?
It was not.
Where was the car when you conducted the search warrant?
That vehicle was in the driveway of Curtis Wainwright's residence on Chapel Hill Court.
I want to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 33B. State's Exhibit 33B. Do we see in State's Exhibit 33B the car from which the garment was ultimately recovered?
Yes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 33B.
No objection.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
And can we see the residence of Curtis Wainwright in State's Exhibit 33B?
Yes.
And I think I have a laser pointer here. I'm going to ask you, there's a little silver push button here. If you would just show us where Curtis Wainwright's residence is.
That is Curtis Wright's residence, and then there is a standalone storage shed next to it on the same property.
And the car from which the garment was taken, where is that in this photo? If you would just use the laser pointer
The
again.
vehicle in question is there in the driveway.
And I'm also going to show you State's Exhibit 33A. Where is that taken? Where is that taken?
That appears to be taken from the rear of Curtis Wright's residence on Chapel Hill Court.
So is this another photo that was taken right where Curtis Wainwright's residence is?
Yes, it's directly to the right of the picture.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit number 30. I want you to keep
Okay.
that. 33A.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
You may.
In 33A, if you can just use the laser pointer to show to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury roughly where Curtis Wainwright's residence would be in this photo.
It would be right there.
So that's the corner of it.
Yes.
And in the distance between the trees, what do we see there?
In the
If you hand
over
that
in
to-
this area between the trees,
Yes.
that appears to be a cell phone tower.
And when you were out there at the Curtis Wainwright's residence, did you see that cell phone tower?
I did.
Okay.
We were speaking about in State's Exhibits 33A and B, seeing Curtis Wainwright's residence from the outside. For photographs, let me show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 33C and D. Were photographs also taken at the inside of Curtis Wainwright's residence?
Yes.
And were these photographs taken from the inside of Curtis Wainwright's residence while you were in Missouri?
Yes.
Move to introduce State's Exhibits 33, C and D.
No objection.
We'll show them admitted.
If I could publish, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is State's Exhibit 33C. And this is State's Exhibit 33D. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay. With that, I think this witness is still going to take quite some time, and rather than starve you out, I think we'll let you go to lunch. Why don't we have you come back at 2? So I know you have to leave the courthouse to eat, so I want to give you more than an hour so you can do that. So we'll have you come back at 2 o'clock. Please don't talk about the case with anybody. Look up any of the people or places involved, and we'll see you then.
I don't believe so, Your Honor. I don't know.
Defense? Well, I'm asking both of you like I always do. I'm just checking.
Well, I didn't want to speak for both sides, Your Honor.
Okay. See everybody at 2. So you can step down.
Excuse me, Your Honor, just the evidence somebody...
Things that have been admitted, the state's going to give to the clerk at
Okay.
this time.
No
Everything
problem.
else, they'll hold on to.
The clerk doesn't have to hold on.